Alright guys, let's go over the balance patch changes for Team Rivals, starting with Isla, who is another big winner of this balance patch. So right off the bat, we got Close A, which starts at 1 frame faster, and I think the reduced overall frames means that it recovers faster as well, which would make this link possible here. Even though I dropped it that time, but there you go. And then next up we got Close D, which has an expanded hitbox upwards, which means it's gonna anti-air better. And then Crouching A starts up faster as well, 4 frames just like Close A. So that's always good. And then Crouching D is going to start up a couple frames faster as well. So a lot of general speed increase to her normals, which is really good. And then Jumping B is going to have a reduced hurt box, meaning that's going to be harder to hit her out of this, or less likely to trade. And more importantly, it's got an expanded hitbox backwards, now, which means that this is going to cross up more consistently. Now before, her intended cross-up was Jumping D, and the problem with this is that if you misjudge your distance and you land in the front, then you're not going to get any hits. But with Jumping B, if you aim for a cross-up and you land in the front instead, at least you're still going to hit them from the front. And if you're doing the opposite, where you intend to hit them from the front but you accidentally cross up, at least you're still going to get a hit either way. So a really good buff for her. Now the weird thing is that it says normal jumps and hyper jumps only, so hops are not included. I think it's weird. I think your hitbox should stay the same regardless of what type of jump that you're using. So I hope they patch that universally for all characters. Next up, Jumping Blowback reduced body hurt box, which means it's going to be harder to hit her out of this. Pretty good. Nothing major though. And then next up, her command slide. Starts up 3 frames faster, so that's a lot faster than what it used to be. Really good because before it was kind of slow and you didn't really get to tag a lot of people with it, but now you can kind of tag them with this and go into a quick max confirm a lot easier than before. Next up, her C projectile starts up 2 frames faster. I do notice a speed difference here. And then the EX version, when the projectile lands, the projectile is going to hit sooner than it used to, so that's good. I don't know if that opens up new combo opportunities, I don't think so, but good stuff for her. Next up, her EXDP. If you don't already know, her EXDP is not invincible, but the trade-off is that she can do specials out of this move. Now, before it was a little bit weird because the input that you can do it could either be too late or too early. And there was a weird kind of middle timing to cancel into her follow-up specials. But now they're going to increase the window that you can input it, so you're going to have an easier time of landing this more consistently. And then next up, we got one of her biggest buffs, her Quarter Circle Back D, this move right here. So there's different follow-ups to this move, and in the previous version of the game, in order to do any of the follow-ups, the first hit has to connect here. This has to connect before you can do anything else. And this really kind of locked Isla's potential to, have some nuanced offense or mix-ups. Now that you don't have to touch the opponent anymore, you could do a lot of things differently. So, for example, some sort of block string like this. And yeah, I don't have anything real with Isla, but you can kind of envision what sort of possibilities that Isla's going to have going forward. Now there are a lot of other buffs to this move, so particularly the EX A follow-up. So there's 3 buffs to this. Reduce overall frames by 3, which means it's going to be faster. And then reduce combo scaling. So before, because it's 4 hits, the combo scaling was kind of a lot, right? So it wasn't very rewarding to use this, even though you're using half a bar. Now they're going to reduce the combo scaling because they want you to use this move more. So Isla's overall damage is going to increase, which is good. Now there is a trade-off in that on block, the pushback has been decreased dramatically, so that now you're going to be, it's already negative on block, punishable, right? But now they're more likely to get a close heavy normal on you, which I think is a fair trade-off. I don't really see that as a nerf. It's more like a fix to what it should be. If you're using a move that an EX move that juggles and the opponent blocks it, you should be able to get punished for it. Either way, I don't think anybody's dumb enough to really use this on block, because you really shouldn't. That's why I don't really see it as a nerf. Next up, the B follow-up. So this has increased knockback distance on block. So let me put the computer to guard all. So as you can see, Isla's way too far to be punished for this. So kind of good, but I don't really see this as a buff because nobody really uses the EX version of that move. So not really a big deal. Now the next one is a big deal. So the C follow-up, Isla jumps into the air. Now before, off of this follow-up here, you can only do her air specials, right? So the dive kick, the action kick, and the overhead. But now you could do a jumping attack, which is really huge because now you could do, you know, something like this. A cross-up, right? Or maybe if you have them in a corner, kind of an extended overhead attack or some other pressure going on. So really good. I think this really opens up, you know, Isla's potential, or really unlock, we should say, right? Because first of all, she doesn't have to hit them anymore with the first hit to do any of the follow-ups, and now she can use a jumping attack freely. And with the buff to, you know, her jumping B, you know, that's gonna really open up and make Isla a better offensive character. And then next one, on the EX version only, you can now cancel into any of her command double jumps, I guess I should say, or her drip command jumps. So in other words, when you do this in the air, you can only do this in the air, right? These kind of command double jumps, I should say. But now, off of the C follow-up, EX only, you can now do the jumps, the drip command jumps. So you could do a lot of trippy stuff with this, like maybe, let's see, you can't do it out of the air and stay in the air much longer. So yeah, I don't have anything real to demonstrate here, but you can kind of envision how much more potential this really opens up Isla. So really good buff so far. Alright, next up, the drips command double jumps. So the forward, backward, and vertical, they're gonna reduce the body hurt box when going up in the air. Okay, so this is really good because the SOK is basically saying, hey, we intend for you to use this more, because now that you can do it without you can do the follows without touching the opponent and open up all these strings. But we know that it's possible for you to kind of get hit if the opponent is looking out for it. So now we're gonna make it harder for Isla to be hit out of these moves right here. So that way her mix-up is actually kind of more, you know, more possible. So that's really good on SNK's part. I think these buffs are really dang good. And then next up, another kind of significant buff is that her action kick, or piecing B, as it's called in the command list, has attack frames increased by 2, which I think it means is more active. And then change the blowback for in-air hits when the opponent is in a hit state. So in other words, let's see if I can do this here. Now you can juggle after this. Let's see. There you go. I used the super by mistake there. But when you do this, now you can hit them out of the air and kind of do a reset. There you go. So that's possible now, which is really good because you can get a lot of damage, reset, something that's extremely positive, or maybe a mix-up off of the D, like that. And again, as I've been saying, these changes really open up Isla's offense and mix-up potential. Okay, next up, back-to-back, which is her kick super, is gonna expand. They're gonna expand the attack hitbox, which is good because there are times where I would reversal with this and I super cancel, and in some of the matches that I've recorded, this super would actually whiff. But now that they're going to expand the hitbox, it's going to land more consistently. And then lastly, her punch super, wild style, they're going to increase the damage on the last hit. So the last hit now deals 70 damage for the regular version, and then for the EX version, the last hit's going to deal 100 instead of 80. So really good for Isla. One of the things that she suffered from in the original version was that she kind of had low damage output. Now they're going to make it better so that she can deal more damage compared to the rest of the cast. Alright, that's it for Isla. Overall, really good buffs, really good changes. I'm hoping to see more Isla players out there because she's a really fun character to watch. Now, let's move on to Dolores. Alright, so Dolores isn't as fortunate as Isla. In fact, it's kind of the opposite, where she received a number of nerfs. So let's go ahead and move on to the first one. So first up, her Far D has a reduced upper side hurt box. It used to be really good against, you know, kind of jump-ins and hops, and now they kind of reduced the hurt box. I'm not sure if I'm doing a good job demonstrating this, but I think it's unfortunate that they've made this nerf because this move looks really good. She doesn't have that much other good far-reaching broken normals like far C or far D from Ralph. So I think the fact that they took this out was kind of a bummer. I don't think it was warranted. Next up, crouching B, reduce front side hitbox, so which means the range of this move has decreased. Now fortunately you could still get 3 hits of this move, so hopefully her combo potential isn't affected. Hold on, this move is still combo. Yeah, it's still possible. But again, another nerf. I guess they felt that her far B reached too far. Jumping D, reduce upper side hitbox. Now again, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do a good job of demonstrating this. But maybe that was it right there, where now it's less likely to hit opponents above her. It used to be really good as a jump in and as an air to air. Now it's going to be less effective as an air to air. Next up, her A projectile, increase attack frames by 2. Not sure what this means. They're more active. Since frames are increased only for when the opponent is in a hit state. In other words, they have to be mid combo. I'm not sure I'm understanding the significance of this buff, because if they're in a hit state, they usually this combos anyways. Maybe someone more knowledgeable can fill me in on this. Next up, her projectile D, reduce overall frames by 2. I wish they were more specific. Did they mean it recovers faster in 2 frames? Either way, I don't think this is anything major. Next up, Altarique, what's that? Just want to make sure I'm using the right move here. Her B teleport, reduce overall frames by 3, so it's faster. Not sure this is really a good buff because she's standing in place. Next up, Nesh. I think this is her command grab. Let's see, it is. Oh no, it's the other anti-air. So they decreased the throw damage from 20 to 80. Yikes, that is a huge nerf. 40 damage nerf for this move right here. The anti-air kind of put you in a casket thing. Huge nerf. 40 damage, that's a lot, right? That's just a lot. I don't know if that's warranted. Maybe like a 20-point decrease would have been fair, but 40? That's a lot, man. That is a lot. And then next up, what is this? Her climax, I think. Yeah, greatly increased overall frames. So I think I think this recovers a lot slower now. That's kind of a random nerf. I don't even know if she had like an insane setup after using her climax. I guess it's kind of weird if a character does have a good setup after a hard knockdown climax. But either way, not a whole lot of changes to Dolores in terms of functionality, but big nerf to her damage output because of this move here. This is one of her most damaging kind of like combo tools, and now it's got a huge nerf to it. Again, I know she did a lot of damage before, but I think a 10 or 20 point damage nerf would have been fine. And on top of that, I don't think you needed to nerf her some of her normals. I think that's a little bit too far. Well, either way, I still think that Dolores is still going to be a pretty strong character. I guess some of her damage will be more on the lesser side. But let's move on to Heidern. Alright, finally we have Heidern, so let's see what he's got here. First off, his blowback is 4 frames faster. It's always nice when your normals come out faster. Next up, his jumping A is going to have a expanded hitbox upwards, so this means that this is going to air to air better. Now in terms of air to air, I don't think it matters what button you press. It's more of a matter of like when you're pressing it, right? Because you're anticipating the opponent to jump up. So to me, it doesn't really matter what button you press as long as it reaches them. So kind of a minor buff to me at least. Next up, Stormbringer. So this was originally both versions were just a command grab. There was no difference between the A and C version. Now they're gonna make the C version different. So first off, it's gonna be a physical hit and not a grab, and it's gonna do 117 damage. And now this makes this combo possible. So this combo was previously possible, but only with the EX version, which was also a physical hit. So this is a really good buff for Heidern because now he has a better option off of half bar combos. So as you can see, almost 300 damage. You're gonna get the health drain, you gotta get the knockdown, and you're gonna get the fireball setup afterwards. So really good buff for Heidern. The other major buff is that A version of Stinger is now going to be able to combo off of lights, and the reason this is possible is because they've made this faster, they've expanded the hitbox, and they've made him move forward a little bit too. So now he's gonna get that hard knockdown, he's gonna get the projectile setup, and also it does more damage than his Moon Slash combo. So really good buff for Heidern. Now as a trade-off, they've made some nerfs to this. I wouldn't really call it a nerf, more like just kind of like a fair trade-off. So first of all, the block stun has been increased, so it's more punishable. The knockback on block is now reduced so that the opponent is closer and probably gonna get a close or at least a heavy crouching normal off of you. And then lastly, the behavior on counter hit, it used to do a wall stick, so let me turn that on. But now the A, so that's the C version, and that's what the A version used to do on counter hit. But now it's gonna be a regular hard knockdown. Now again, I don't really think it's a big deal because it's not like you're gonna get a vapor cannon combo off of this, so not really a big deal to me. I think it's more important that he has the ability to combo into a stinger, because previously you could go into stinger, but you have to EX it. And even though I dropped it there you go. But you have to EX it. So it's really good that he has a new go-to BNB when you have no bar. And lastly, sorry, not lastly, but the C version of Stinger now has an expanded hitbox. So one of the issues with his previous combos was off of the wall bounce, the C version of Stinger would sometimes whiff. In fact, it kind of whiffed a lot because the hitbox is so terrible. That time I did it slow. So now it's going to hit more consistently. And lastly, the C version of his projectile super is now going to come out 2 frames faster. So now this combo is going to be possible, which is really good because before, if you tried to do that combo, the opponent would drop to the floor, so it wouldn't even connect. Now they're going to make this 2 frames faster so that it connects just right before they touch the ground, making that combo that I just showed you possible. So yeah, overall, pretty good changes for Heidern that I think he really needed. I still think he needs more. I kind of hoping they do something different and new with this, with his cross-up slash. Right now, if you know, you could do this outside the corner, but in the corner, it doesn't lead to anything. And the recovery is so slow that like he can't really get a true setup off of this. So I'm hoping they make like a difference between the B version and the D version. Like, the only difference right now is how fast they travel, how far they travel. So I'm kind of hoping they kind of make one like the faint version, and maybe for the EX version, like make this hit on the initial kind of dash, right? Kind of like Angels. But either way, really good changes for Team Rivals for the most part. Fortunately, Dolores got nerfed. Heidern needs something more. Hey, but Isla got a lot of good buffs, so really good stuff. Okay, that's it for Team Rivals. Thanks for watching.